Okay, welcome back. Today we're looking at a Samsung S10e. We're going to be doing the screen replacement. This particular one does come with battery, a new battery as well. What you'll see here is me setting up at someone's house. This is my mobile repair um, business. And so if you look around, you can kind of scroll around and see exactly what tools you need. Um, I think a lot of people are surprised when they see that literally I got a little heat gun, a little iFixit tool, which is essentially a knife, a little bit thicker than an X-Acto knife and not quite as sharp. Um, you got some picks. Same thing. You can get those from iFixit or Amazon, eBay. You can get all of these tools fairly quick. Um, you'll see there I got a playing card. A quick note on the playing cards. I've been using this particular one for a couple of weeks now, and I do generally a couple of Samsungs a day. Um, and I only use it to separate the back, generally the bottom of the back. As you can see there, I'm going up and down the side with my pick. Um, but the trick is you want to get the casino playing cards because casino playing cards are partial linen. They're super thick, they resist heat, things along those lines. So, that being said, as you can tell, I'm heating up with my 300-watt heat gun. Nothing major. Um, my biggest tip with any of these Samsungs is as you're heating it up, obviously you don't want to stay in one place, especially on the S10. Um, However, as you're kind of going through, you want to be able to touch the back with your fingers or your hand no more than like a couple of seconds. Realistically, maybe 1 second. That's kind of where I try to keep it, and you'll kind of get to know it. Obviously, if you as soon as you touch it, if you burn your fingers, then that's too hot. And if you're able to keep your fingers on there for longer than a couple of seconds tops, then it's not hot enough. Both ways, you can crack the back. Really, if it's not hot enough, you're going to crack the back. But if you heat it up too much, now that that black or iridescent coating that Samsung is using, it's the weirdest thing. If you heat it up just slightly too much, it will actually discolor the back, and it will discolor it in the shape of the adhesive underneath. Super annoying. It depends on which one. The black ones are really bad for that. The kind of bluish gray ones are bad for that. The iridescent one actually looks kind of cool when you heat it up too much because it goes from kind of a bluish and it turns into a pinkish. Um, so it's just less noticeable, I guess is what I'm getting at. But yeah, as you can see there, what I really like about the S10es and the S10s is that there's no fingerprint scanner on the back, so you don't have to worry about you know pulling that through or ripping the cable. Same thing, you don't have to worry about really heating that up too much to where you're going to damage the fingerprint scanner. Obviously, still be cautious. This is really where the majority of this job is spent, is taking this back off, because it's most important. If the back is not already cracked and you crack it, then you're done. With the business that I do, they don't actually provide the backs; they only provide the fronts. Um, so it's imperative to take your time. Generally, a good rule of thumb is about 10 minutes. So don't try to rush it too fast. as far as taking that off. On the S10, they have loaded it up with adhesive even more to make it more waterproof. Excuse me. And there's a little extra around the right side. So a little bit more. You've got that gasket that goes all the way around, and then you have a little extra on the right side if the screen is face down and you're looking at it from there. So I did skip over taking out the screws. It's super boring. There's like 15 to 20 screws. I can't remember exactly how many. Take those out, set them aside, and then get your little spudger and pop the plastic off of there, which will include the wireless charger and the speaker down below. And then you'll have access to the logic board, which there is on the S10e, one screw up top just below the rear facing camera, and then there are two down below, if I remember correctly. I'll have to double check that. It's one or two, holding in the headphone jack, and then headphone jack, and then nope, just two for the charge port. I apologize. Because the headphone jack is actually one of the screws that we already took out that goes through the plastic into the frame. This is by far my new favorite phone to work on, because once you're this far, you remove the headphone jack, the front-facing camera, and the SIM card tray, and then the logic board comes out. I like to take it out from the top and just get my little tool underneath kind of the speaker, or even where the front-facing camera came out, and lift that logic board right out, and then you're pretty much done at that point, which is awesome. As you can see here, grabbing the new tool, putting the new part, putting the old part back in, and we just reassemble it at this point. You're going to want to put the charge port in down below first. You'll kind of see it's definitely a tight fit. You have to get it in there at about a 20-degree angle and then kind of ease your way down. As I mentioned before, this does have the battery replacement included, so obviously move that connection out of the way to get your motherboard or your logic board down in there securely. And again, this is just to illustrate, probably didn't have to do it in VR or 360 degrees, but if you're doing mobile repair, this is kind of what you can expect. People kind of walking around the house. These people are extremely nice, extremely clean. It's not always this clean. It's not always this nice. A lot of the times people like to sit next to you and ask you questions about, what you're working on and what you're pulling out of the phone. And it's inevitable. People are are you sure this is going to be okay? Are you sure this is going to work? And you can fuck with people. It's cool. I like to mess with people and let them know that by removing one of the screws, it deletes all of their photos. And it's just hilarious to see. Like, you could come up with some of the craziest stuff, and people actually, they actually believe it. Obviously, you're just messing with them. Do it with taste, though, of course. But here we are. We're going, putting the couple screws back in. Again, two down below, one up top. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the S10 Plus is two down below and two up top, roughly in the same areas. Biggest thing with these Samsungs, don't try to just pull that logic board straight out. You'll find that sometimes like on a Note 8, or a S9 Plus, there's little screws hiding on the logic board, and if you pull too hard, then you're gonna crack it. So just be patient, take a look, take 2 looks, and then kind of go from there. So there we go. We did skip again back over to put the plastic in, or the plastic back on the back there. Put your screws in. That part's super boring, so I skipped over it. And here we are heating up the backside adhesive, because we are going to reuse that adhesive. And the biggest thing with these is that same thing, do not overheat the adhesive, um, because it will discolor it just enough to piss somebody off. So I know if I were the phone owner, and you handed me a phone that was discolored, yeah, I probably wouldn't accept that. So we can't really expect people to. So I would range on the cautious side of heating this back up, especially since they have a case. You can kind of set the expectation that, listen, we definitely weakened that adhesive, so keep it in the case, and if you do take it out, be cautious, be careful with it. um, that's my biggest thing. So we'll be putting some pressure on it and let that cool down a little bit there. And then we'll be able to power it back on and double check a couple of things. But that's the nice thing about Samsungs, is that they are one of the most successful parts, at least in my experience, in comparison to all the other manufacturers, but mainly Apple. Samsung is extremely good, and they always work. And if they don't work, then you probably messed something up. That being said, there's here I am, just cleaning up. I've got pretty much everything that I need in um, that little trapper keeper is what I call it, from the 80s. No, you've got just enough to put everything back in, and it's easy enough to lay everything that you need out, and it's a quick and easy, it's quick and easy to clean up. So that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, give me a comment if you have questions on it. I realize that I didn't go too in depth with the repair itself, but if you're willing to spend over $200 on a